So good morning. Today there's a certain sadness here. It's Memorial Day. And many countries have Memorial Day for those who lost their lives in armed conflict. So that's the day here, and there are almost 30,000 fallen. And that leads to lots of reflections as well. Oh, I can still see a little bit of Mount Hermon. Let's do that because it disappears when the sun gets higher. So there we have these palm trees, and on the left between the two of them is the Mount of Beatitudes. You can see the plastics covering the bananas up there. And then just, you go back up that hill, then go up the hill from us, way up to the top of that ridge. And then right behind it here in the very center of the screen, you can see a little gray area protruding at the back of those hills. And that's the top of Mount Hermon. It's interesting, yesterday during the Sunrise Stroll and chat, after a few minutes, well, maybe 10 or 15 minutes, it was no longer visible. So I just wanted to catch that for you. Because Mount Hermon has a certain charm to it. We're here at Magda. We're going to stay here this morning. I'm going out for an appointment early this morning, so I'm ready to hit the road when we finish our stroll and chat, which is such an important appointment. Yesterday we had a great day here for the media because CBN people came, Chris Mitchell and company, and it was absolutely, he was just in the area and he called me up and he said, "Can we come in?" I said, "Sure." And when he was here he said, "I'd like to do a Facebook Live." And he said, "I'd like to do a Facebook Live." And I said, "Sure." And then we had already talked about doing something together about the pilgrimage. You remember about at the beginning of the pilgrimage we did there at the beginning of Lent, he did a promotion piece for us, and Kathleen and I were standing on this balcony because we were protected from the wind, and that's where we did our split screen with Chris on Jerusalem Dateline Live. It was a bit crummy in terms of just the possibilities of what you see there, but it was okay. But it helped a lot, I think, to get a lot of people aware of the pilgrimage. And then we said, well, we should do a little follow-up now that the pilgrimage of 48 days has come to a conclusion. And so he was game for that, and we decided to do that. And luckily Kathleen was also there and available. So with Chris's team, well, he had a visitor along, and Jonathan, the cameraman, we did a Facebook Live yesterday, and we did quite a bit of it over here, just over here. We actually walked from the synagogue, which is over there, just at the corner of the building, way over there, near the road. And we walked down and we stopped in at Dukanaltum. But this morning, when I was just setting up for this stroll and chat, I noticed that it had 45,000 hits. It's amazing what this media does. So you can find a link to it right on my Facebook page here when we're done, and you can check it out, and you can give it a thumbs up if you like. But Chris has done a lot of things on Magdala over the years. And I got to splash him with water. I wanted him to get into to put his toe in the water, his hand in the water, and you know, like, you don't think you need to do that, so that's okay. So I just splashed him with water right there in the video. But I was very grateful to Chris and all his team, and how much he has made Magdala known over the years. See, this lake is pretty high. I want to take you over here because we have something very special here that's relevant for today. Besides lots of bougainvilleas, so I came back in front of the house, and there you see Soter she has to remain tied up because she doesn't like some employees. So, and if you hear her whining afterwards, don't blame me, okay? You say, Sophie, you gotta learn how to be a good girl. So we have something very special here. In fact, I'm not sure if this wall here was built for that purpose, but you see a little wall here. The water is very high down here. Where are we? There we are. And normally, a couple of years ago, we had to walk for the water way out to the bush that's out there. You see where the bush is way out there? We'd have to walk way past that to get to the water, and then you have to walk another 100 yards into the water, or 80 yards to get some depth to swim. So here there's a big stone. It's a memorial stone. And actually, it was nice there. There's a nice ray of light coming in here. So this stone is for Yossi. See, the first letter on the right is Lamed, which is like L. And then you have the famous Yud. And also at the end of the name Yud. That's like, I don't know how you would pronounce it, like an I in a way. And then the third letter in the middle is a Vav that has a bit of an extra leg on it. And then you have a Samech, which is an S sound. So Le Yossi. And Yossi is like the familiar way to say Joseph. So it's for Joseph, Yossi. And his family name is Fixman. So that first letter on the right could be a P or an F sound. In this case, it's an F sound. And then you have another Yud, and then you have a K there, a Kuf, and another S, Samach, and a Mem, and an M sound, and an N at the end. So Yossi Fixman. And it was interesting that this is from then Yom Kippur War. And it was interesting that a cousin of his was here, and his wife, over a year ago, about 14, 15 months ago, January, February, and we had a nice chat, And then they explained to me about this stone and how Yossi had been able to visit his family one evening on the way to the conflict theaters down in the south and in the Negev and the Sinai. And actually another 24 hours and he had departed this world. And they only found his shoes. Those very sad details of So Memorial Day then even becomes concrete for me here in Israel, and also some of our employees, they know people, some companions, schoolmates, relatives. And this brings us to the whole theme then of the conflicts and humanity not being able to resolve conflicts peacefully in dialogue. There's a great line Pope Paul VI had: if you want peace, sow seeds of justice, and they will flower in peace. So humanity all over the world has a lot to learn, a lot to develop, a lot of struggles. It's very hard for wars to be just and to not commit injustice, and obviously terrible damage on the way. And we think of the loss of life, 30,000 lives almost. In Ireland we had our own experience. Even in grade school we learned about Daniel O'Connell. And actually Daniel O'Connell would exactly have been very active 2 centuries ago. And he even got elected to the English Parliament for my county, County Clare. And he was he was a lawyer, and he was a very very astute guy. I guess to be elected in a situation like that where Ireland was under the foot of England, in a very harsh way, particularly the century before. The penal laws had reached a maximum where they even regulated the size of the windows of Catholics' homes, forbade education, and before that there were, in the early part of that, there was a lot of martyrs. A lot of people were killed for their faith, just for their faith. And under the time of Cromwell. So Daniel's father actually was a smuggler because of obviously the tensions in Europe between the different powers. France and England were at loggerheads, so France isn't far from Ireland, so some Irish entrepreneurs were able to go to France secretly and smuggle goods to France and goods from France back to Ireland, avoiding the English controls. And so it turned out that when Daniel was a kid, he was actually in Paris with his father when the French Revolution broke out. And he saw the blood. He saw the violence and the senseless violence. And he said, because of the sickening experience of that, he said that the freedom of Ireland was not worth shedding one drop of blood. It's a very strong statement, but it was ingrained in us as children. And at the same time, when we were children in 1960s, mid-60s, 1966, we had the 50th anniversary of, I was 10, 11 years old, of the Irish uprising, the Easter uprising 1916. And these guys were really glorified as heroes. And the leader was Pádraig Pearse. And there were signatories of the Proclamation of Independence from England. And it was during the First World War. And obviously the English felt that that was tremendous betrayal, that the Irish would rise up against them during the war. While at the same time there were many Irish soldiers actually fighting with England in the First World War. There was a whole regiment, so you have all that tug of war inside of national politics and relationships to the outside and especially to warring parties. So there was a big movement of Irish conscripts or volunteers in the war with England. So these are all very complex relationships, you know, how you deal with these situations. And then as children we were learning all those sides of the story, you know, and it was our grandparents' generation. My dad was born in 1917 during the war. His mother died from the Spanish flu, and his sister. So it's, let's pray that humanity can learn. Let's work for peace. Let's work for a culture of encounter and a culture of dialogue, a culture of meeting each other, of not giving up. Because no education of a child is ever lost, even if it's a little bit, even if they're running through a rougher time. No one is ever lost. So I'm coming over here because somebody asked me, you can get closer to Soda, but that wasn't the reason. She's wagging her tail, she likes to be on camera, you know. But actually the reason is, they said we didn't see the fruit trees for a long time. So I want to show you our fruit trees, and especially there's one in full bloom. They're like little plums, delicious fruit, and they're in full bloom. I just noticed them 2 days ago, so I just thought I'll have to come in here. And since I wanted to show you Yossi Fixman's memorial and his families, getting a concrete feeling from what Memorial Day really means, well, you know that anyway. So I just thought we could do the garden today, and we'll stay close to home. So you have all these myriad of flowers and all their multiples of pollen. And then you have these little ones here, and they're coming. And I'm really sorry that you missed this one over here, because you could have got the scent of the flowers. They were amazing, but the flowering period is gone and the little fruit is forming. And these become huge fruit. They become bigger than balloons. Some say it's the largest citrus fruit. They're pomelos, the largest citrus fruit ever that's on the earth. You'll always have somebody else that will dispute that probably, but that's what the story is. And we got tons of pomelos here. Not too many people like them, so I have lots of pomelos. They're kind of bitter. They're like grapefruit. They're drier than grapefruit. The skin is very thick. It's like almost an inch thick. Oh, there you, I think, no you don't. There's still leaves down here. So then we have the rimonin, some big weeds here. The rimonim, or the flowers are coming, the pomegranate. So here are the flowers for the pomegranate coming along. And then we still have one tree here with some lemons. Isn't that terrible? I should pick these lemons. And this is a lemon tree that as well was very big, but all the branches were down below. And there was an expert here last summer, and he said you got to chop off the branches down below. And just there was one very thin branch. The other branches were much stronger than this, and he said it was also leaning over. So our gardener here put in I cut off the branches, but he put in this iron stake here to help it to grow straight as it become a main trunk of the tree. And then he tied down these branches to spread them out a little, so they'll become the dominant branches. And it's already flowering up here. Look at this. Well, let me go on the other side to see it better. And then there are new sprouts coming out of here. I don't know if we're going to want that many down there. Eventually we'll have to see as they grow. So here you have the new flowers coming out. Look at that. And there's another one, I think, a little more in bloom. Oh, there's a little lemon as well. Look at that. These were already out. Yeah, because we saw them there a while ago. Look at this, more here. And there are more coming there. And there are new sprouts coming as well. New extended growth of the branches. And then we have a lemon tree here also in bloom. So this lemon tree is there, but there are also flowers coming here. And we still have some big lemons on them. More flowers coming here. And then we have over here, this is a tangerine or mandarin. And here the little flower. Oh, there's a lovely scent here, people. Can you pick up the scent? Just turn on that part of your app there to get the scent of the flowers. I wonder when the app will be developed that you can not just see and hear, but you can also get the scent of the things. There's a beautiful scent from these flowers. Beautiful, absolutely delightful. Delightful, delicious, exciting. And then this one over here is, I think is this the red orange, if I remember rightly? This little one down here, you can see the stem there of the tree. And here we have its flowers, different. Amazing, all the variety. Like we have them here very close together. So look at this. The ones, that one on the left there is the lemon one, and the one on the right here is the orange one. And then we have another orange here, but I don't see any flowers on it. So now you got a tour of our garden. And I don't know how we're doing in the time. Let me check the watch here. We have to do something for the readings as well. So we're going a little over 20 minutes. So I want to show you something else as well, since we're here right now on the site of Magna. Look at all those beautiful, this is an olive here. Oh, actually I wanted to show you some olives, and we have two here, but they're not in bloom. So that's where we're going to head to see the olives. Well, I think we'll just go out this way here. We won't bother Soter. Although you want to see the sun, right? The sunrise. This is a sunrise stroll and chat. So we got to see the sun. And there you can see Soter. Hello, Soter. And she's tying up this rope and knots around the whole thing here. Sometimes human beings do that as well. We tie up our relationships in knots, and that leads to war, frustrations, conflict, violence, loss of life. Not a cloud in the sky. You see here to Mount Arbel. Not a cloud. Not a cloud in the sky. Oh, since we're here, just let's check this one out if there are any leaves. Look at all the old fruit on this one, the pods. And let's see if there's any new life coming. Remember we had flowers here for months. Beautiful flowers. All these old pods, if you rattle these, there's a lot of seed in there, you know. So I want to show you in this botanical morning here a couple of other things of the growth in the springtime. So we have a lot of growth here inside the palm trees. They were a little more colourful there a couple of weeks ago, but you can see the new little stems. All of these are going to be dates. So I invite you to a date in Magdala. Hello, Pastor Jen. Always great to see you. Just saw you right now there. As I paid attention for a second to the phone. Here you can see them better. The sun is enlightening, and we can see the color difference here between these new little shoots with all the dates on them, and then the big branches. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dates coming there. So we can have one for every pilgrim. So now I want to show you while they're in full bloom, the olive trees. Can you imagine the olive trees are in full bloom? But it's a very different kind of flowering, especially the ones on the Donors Avenue, where we honor and recognize and remember our donors. So let's see here. Yeah, this olive is in full bloom. Look at this. This is one of my blooms. I love this tree. All the history of this tree. It's a memorial to centuries. Look, you can see that's the way the olive tree is flowering. They're actually little flowers. I hadn't looked that closely. They're like flowers, aren't they? So up here the other day there were really, really abundant flowers. So as we walk up here, we just remember what the readings are saying there. These are like swallows, are they? No, they're not swallows. Up there having a great time. Yeah, they look like swallows that have this double tail. So the leaders seem to be in a conflict with the Almighty, because they have the apostles imprisoned for teaching about Jesus, and when they convene the court and send for the prisoners, they're not in jail and the gates are locked, and they continue preaching in the temple. Wow. Because the guards came back and said they're not in the prison. Well, go and look for them. And somebody comes in with the news that they're preaching already in the temple again. There are a lot of things to consider about this, but one thing that really strikes me is you see how this is all the flowering of the olives. Tons of olives coming here. Tons of olives. So they're out of prison and they're preaching, but the nerve they had to go back preaching, they're, in a certain sense, they're not their own anymore. They belong completely to God. They're willing to go out and keep preaching. The angel took them out of prison and said, you go and continue preaching. You go and continue telling the good news. The good news is the name for the Gospels, Eo Evangelium, good news. And they don't bear hatred to the leaders. They're clear in their proclamation, but they don't bear hatred. And that's something astonishing, something marvelous, something wonderful. They're really liberated from hatred, liberated from enmity. They can be thrown in jail. They eventually, then we'll be reading next week how they're scourged and so on, or maybe in the next couple of days, I don't know how soon it comes. And look at all the flowering here. Isn't that amazing? Imagine the flowering in the hearts of these apostles, the flowering of virtue, of patience, and also, one thing is patience, and it sounds like patience, and they're victims of injustice, but they're not in a psychological state of victimhood. They're being punished, they're being curtailed, and they're blossoming in great patience, and at the same time they're blossoming in boldness, courage. They can't be browbeaten. They're indomitably capable. Oh, I think they're the little olives, aren't they? This is like flower that has further come ahead. I think these could be the little olives already coming, huh? What do you think? Some experts here. I haven't been observing this before, but that looks like the future olives. Looks very like the future olives. So you saw the first olives coming in the season. And here we're honoring the benefactors who have been so generous. Without them, we wouldn't be here doing all of this, I tell you. No way, Jose. Lord, move their hearts, the blossoming of generosity in the hearts of people. Ones that would give a lot, and ones that gave a smaller amount, but maybe their heart was just as generous and as good. And we have to do all this road yet with all these donors. We're also very grateful to all those who have sustained us in this hard time of COVID, of the lockdowns and the pandemics and the regulations. Look at this ton of blossoming. And that's what's happening here with so many people. It's not just the apostles in the first century, it's people today are blossoming. And there's plenty of room for everyone to blossom. There's plenty of opportunity. Your light can shine through all the bush and all the brush and all the leaves and your light can shine. So I think I went a little bit over today, and the conversation with Nicodemus goes forward, and that incredible line that's one of the most favorite lines of the most people, I think, who follow Jesus, is the line of God loved the world so much that he gave his only son, not to condemn, but to redeem. May redemption blossom in our hearts, in society, in the world, and may the lives of those who have been lost in conflicts not of their own choosing also be redeemed. This isn't a bad spot, is it? Even though we're over time, I have to do this for you. Look at that. Look at that, people. Look at that. We have to sign off this morning. These little birds are coming here to help us with the bells ringing. For whom the bell tolls. People, God bless you. Thank you. It's been wonderful. Let's pray for a developing and a flowering of human hearts and great virtue. See you later, alligators. God bless you all. God heal our world from all its conflict.